Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over a new poll that was released by CNN, and there are two CNN articles I'm going to read that go over this poll and gives the statistics on two parts of the poll. So there's a lot to go over, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Americans are not impressed with President Donald Trump's stewardship of the economy, according to a new CNN poll conducted by SSRS, putting him underwater on the nation's top issue, even as he sees his ratings among the best of his presidential career on other key priorities. As markets slide and investors worry in response to Trump's trade policies, 56%, a majority of the public, disapprove of his handling of the economy worse than at any point during his first term in office. By contrast, the 51% who now say they approve of his work on immigration, headlined by stricter enforcement efforts, is 7 points higher than at any point during his first term. Americans are closely divided over Trump's performance so far in handling the federal budget and managing the federal government. 48% approve on each, with about half disapproving, while giving him lower ratings for his work on healthcare policy, 43%, foreign affairs, 42%, and tariffs, 39%. Trump's overall job approval ratings currently stands at 45%, with 54% disapproving, in line with the numbers he saw in March 2017 and matching his highest ratings for his first term in office. Overall, 35% of Americans say things in the country are going well, a rise from 29% in January. Reflecting a surge in positive sentiment within the GOP, his ratings remain highly polarized, with Republicans roughly 10 times as likely as Democrats to approve of his job performance. There's overwhelmingly agreement across party lines that Trump's use of presidential power reflects a break from historical precedent. An 86% majority of Americans, including more than 3/4 of adults in each party, say that Trump is taking a completely different approach to presidential power in comparison to past presidents, with 49% calling this a bad thing and 37% saying it's a good thing. Just 14% say his approach to his second term has been generally in line with past presidents. Here's a key part of the poll right here. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling immigration? 51% to 48% overall approve of the job Trump is doing, plus 3. Management of the federal government, 48-51, is -3 for Trump, for disapprove over approve. The federal budget, 52-48, disapprove. His job as president, 45-54, -9 for disapprove. The economy, 44-56, -12 for disapprove. Healthcare, 43-56, disapprove. Foreign affairs, 42-58, disapproves. And tariffs, the most divisive here, 39-61, disapprove. It also mentions the polls conducted by SSRS by CNN March 6th through March 9th among a random national sample of 1,206 U.S. adults drawn from a probability-based panel with a margin of error of 3.3%, or sampling error of 3.3%, margin of sampling error up to 4.6. Economic concerns continue to dominate the poll, with 42% of Americans choosing the economy as their top issue from a list of 7, more than doubling the share who picked any other issue, including the state of U.S. democracy, 19%, the way the federal government works, 14%, immigration, 12%, healthcare, 6%, foreign policy, 3%, climate change, 2%. The economy is also the issue with the most resonance across party lines, narrowly landing behind concerns about democracy among Democratic adults. 36% choose the state of democracy, 33% the economy, and dominating the issue landscape among Republicans and independents, 45% in each group across the economy. Perceptions of Trump as able to bring the change the country needs, 50%, and manage the government effectively, 49%, are significantly higher than they were during the latter half of Trump's first term, 43% and 42% respectively, in November 2019. Roughly half of Americans currently say that Trump has the stamina and sharpness to serve effectively, 51%, with fewer calling him an effective leader at 46%, or saying he respects the rule of law at 38%. Worries about Elon Musk's role in government cuts. Trump has spent his first months back in office speaking to sharply cut spending and reduce the federal workforce. The public's view of that effort in Elon Musk, to whom Trump has given a prominent role, are largely negative. Just 35% of Americans express a positive view of Musk, while 53% rating him negatively and 11% offering no opinion. making him both better known and more substantially unpopular than Vice President J.D. Vance, whom 33% of Americans rate favorably, 44% unfavorably, 23% no opinion. Roughly 6 in 10 Americans say that Musk neither has the right experience nor the judgment to make changes to the way the government works. There's uneasiness about Musk, even among some of the president's supporters. 28% of those who see Trump's changes to the government as necessary doubt the tech billionaire has the judgment to carry them out. 55% majority of Americans say that Trump administration's changes to the federal government are being made largely to advance his agenda, with 45% calling the changes necessary to ensure the government functions properly. Asked to weigh whether they're more concerned about the Trump admin's cuts to the federal government going too far, not far enough, 62% of Americans say they are more worried about the former and fear important programs being shut down. The other 37% say they're more worried about the cuts not going far enough and eliminating fraud and waste in the federal government. 9 in 10 Democrats and 69% of independents say they're more concerned about losing important programs, while 73% of Republicans say they're more concerned that fraud and waste will remain an issue in the government. Lingering doubts since the first term, some opinions of Trump's second presidency echo dynamics seen through his political career. The shares who describe Trump as caring about people like them, 40%, or being able to unite the country, 34%, remain about as negative as they were in the poll in 2019 during his first term. The share who strongly disapproved of his performance as president consistently outstripped the share who strongly approved. In the latest survey, those numbers stand at 41% and 26%, respectively. He has never seen a majority of Americans as having the right presidential priorities, and in the latest survey, 57% say he hasn't paid attention to the country's most important problems. The 59% of U.S. adults who currently call Trump's views and policies too extreme marks a modest uptick from the 54% of majority of registered voters who said the same last September, shortly before he was reelected to the White House. Significant shares of the public expressed some degree of mixed views about Trump's policies or his qualities as leaders. 12%, for instance, say they approve of his handling of immigration, but disapprove of the work on the economy. 15% say both that Trump does not respect the rule of law and that he can bring the kind of change the country needs. The poll was done between March 6th and 9th of a sample of 1,206 U.S. adults. So before I move on here, because I do have some thoughts and feelings about this, but I do also just want to mention a part of this poll, they also looked at the Democratic Party's favorability rating and how it's fallen to a record low. In this poll, just really quickly breaking this down, Democrats and Democratic-aligned independents say 57% to 42% the Democrats should mainly work to stop the Republican agenda rather than working with the GOP majority to get some Democratic ideas into legislation. The majority's desire to fight the GOP marks a significant change in the party's posture from the start of Trump's first term. A September 2017 poll found a broad 74% majority of Democrats and Democratic leaners saying their party should work with Republicans in an attempt to advance their own priorities, and just 23% advocating for a more combative approach. Democratic-aligned adults say 52% to 48% the Democratic leadership of the party is currently taking the party in the wrong direction, and that's another shift from 8 years ago when views on this metric were largely positive. Among the American public overall, the Democratic Party's favorability rating stands at just 29%, and that is a drop of 20 points since January 2021. That's driven in part by relatively high levels of dissatisfaction within the Democratic Party. Just 63% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents report a favorable view of their own party, a dip from 72% in January and 81% at the start at President Joe Biden's administration. The decline comes across ideological wings, with favorability ratings for the Democratic Party falling by 18 points among liberals and moderates alike since the start of 2021. Whereas on the Republican side of things, 79% of Republicans and Republican leaners currently take a positive view of the GOP. Political independents as a group take dim views of both parties, with 19% rating with the Democrat favorably and 20% rating positively of the Republicans. Both the Democratic and Republican parties are viewed by about half the public as having views and policies that are too extreme rather than generally mainstream. That's a change from 2022, when most Americans, 56%, called the Democratic Party's positions mainstream. Views of the GOP have remained effectively unchanged over that time. Political independents remain likelier to see the Republicans as out of the mainstream. 57% call the GOP too extreme, while 48% say say the same of the Democrats, but 16% of the Democrats call their own party too extreme, while 9% of the Republicans say the same about the GOP. So this is interesting. I wanted to mention this out first because it does go into some specifics as well about who should lead the Democratic Party. And spoiler alert in that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 10% is the leading vote getter in that poll, though there are a bunch of candidates that are right behind her. So it's not like she has a massive majority or anything. She has a 1 point lead on that. But it is very interesting that it is a CNN poll, so I know there's going to be questions about is it a biased poll towards the Democratic side and anti-Trump? That's certainly possible. I'm not going to make that claim here today that I think that's the case or that's not the case. I'm not really too sure in all likelihood, but I can understand that case being made. But I do find it very interesting. The CNN poll kind of suggests that Americans in general are just very upset in the political system of Republicans are very happy with President Trump and the job President Trump is doing and what the job the Republicans are doing. But the Democrats and a lot of independents are very upset with the job President Trump is doing, so much as that poll said they don't even want Democrats in Washington to work with the Republicans at all. 74% in September of 2017 wanted Democrats to work with Republicans. Now that's down to 42%. So a lot of Democrats and independents, their position is still not to work with the Republicans or President Trump at all, and essentially just wait it out and wait for the Democrats to regain power again before doing anything. And it shows this dissatisfaction in politics right now where both sides are so adamantly like mad at each other and against each other. It's just a very interesting dynamic that's being very, very popular in these polls. It's interesting that both parties are viewed in the other poll as being unliked and extreme in some regards. And then you see a measure like this in 57-42 for work to stop the Republican agenda versus work with the Republicans. And it's just an interesting dynamic of the part of the country and the parties seem more polarized than ever. And the 2024 election, I don't really think changed anything. If anything, it made things worse. But I don't think the Republicans or Democratic parties really are trying too hard to make this go away either. But it's just an interesting finding of this poll. So overall, in the Trump approval rating right now, I don't think the article specifically mentioned it, but in this poll, Trump's approval rating they found was -7 between 46% approve, 53% disapprove, and his overall average on RCP right now is Trump at 48.2 and 48.4. So that's the video I have for you today about the CNN poll and such. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give the video a like, leave a comment below telling me any thoughts or questions you have. I'll be happy to read them and look them all over. And also make sure to click subscribe as I post a new video every single day so you're not going to want to miss that. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, and I hope to see you in a future video.